Good morning. Here we are, getting ready for our second Zoom session, our first session of the day. I have all my blocks, well, not my blocks, I've got all my bits that I dug out of that wonderful Amish-inspired quilt, which I will be talking more about as time goes on. Turn off my phone, make sure that's all fine. And I still need to do a little bit more quilt math this morning. So we will see how that goes. Welcome. We have Janet and Jody with us. Excellent. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. And we can, I'm sure we'll be joined by a few more. Janet, you were with us last night, correct? Yes. And what are you working on this morning? Are you continuing?
Well, Janet, yeah, I do have my audio on. Janet is working on squares for Warm Up America
Oh, lovely.
because Warm Up America is my donation night is tomorrow night, and I have a little bit of yarn left on this one skein that I need to try to finish it up.
Tell me about Warm Up America. I'm not familiar with it.
It's a national organization of people, volunteers out of Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
That we have a local chapter that does crochet or knitted squares 7 inches by 9 inches, and somebody just does a bunch of 7 inches by 9 inches, turns them in, and one of our other team members takes the 49 of them together and sews them together into an afghan. And then you can either return them to the central people who have a donation cycle there, or we have a donation cycle around us. We gave a bunch at Christmas time to a domestic violence shelter.
Oh, lovely. Yeah. Oh, well, that's a wonderful project to do. I've
Yeah.
heard of a lot of the quilting ones, but I didn't know about that knitting and crochet ones. That's lovely. Oh, wonderful. And then welcome Jody as well. You don't have to take part if you don't wish to, but if you want to say hello and tell us what you're working on, then that would be lovely. But if not, we will.
Hello.
Oh, hello.
I didn't know if
Hello.
I didn't know if I was unmuted or not.
Yes, you are. There we are. Hello.
I'm going to be working on my pumpkin uh, table topper. See if I can
Oh,
get that
lovely.
over here. Yeah. How do I turn this around?
I know it's the eternal Zoom tech
I just do it
issue.
like this.
Yeah, perfect. Oh, isn't that lovely? Is it applique? It's a little bit
It
out of
is.
focus. It looks like
Yeah,
that.
it is. Let's see if I can. It is applique. I just need to choose the threads now and sew it down.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, thank you. That
Yeah.
looks lovely. And then Genevieve is with us as well. And Genevieve, again, you don't have to take part if you don't want to, but if you'd like to unmute and say hello, you're very welcome. But like I say, no pressure if you'd rather not. And then Cindy is back as well, so who was with us last night. Cindy, hello. What are you working on today?
I was just long arming, trying to get a customer's quilt done, so not my own again. Um, I kept working last night and I ended up getting 5 bindings done, which I'm really excited about. So I think I'm gonna
Amazing.
start working on it, just keep continue on my bindings.
Wonderful. And Genevieve has just put in the chat that she's on a train and cannot talk, but she is listening. So there we go. So the official purpose of today's session was advice and opinions and feedback. But of course, if nobody needs any, then we can just continue to sew and chat as we were last night. I did notice there was a post in the Facebook group, I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before, about a lady who'd made the most amazing set of blocks, but was wondering what to do with them. And a lot of people had already pitched in on that, but I thought we could take a look at her quilts. And let me just bring up the picture and I can share that. Because it really was beautiful. Where am I? I've lost the Zoom tab now. There we are. Okay, here we are.
The 70-inch square one?
Hang on, I've lost the let me just share this. 90 inches square, I think it
Yeah.
finishes up at.
It's beautiful, absolutely
Wow.
beautiful.
Isn't
But
that
I
lovely?
agree with her. I would have no place to put something that size.
Right? Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, what she says is she doesn't know how to proceed. It's a 365 quilt, and she's completed 300 of the blocks. Each one's different. And then realized that if it was finished at 90 by 90, she wouldn't have anywhere to put it. So she tried some smaller layouts and then stopped back in September 2018 because she couldn't work out what to do. So she attached a photo of where she's got to, and was asking how to proceed. And I certainly weighed in. What did I say? I can't actually remember now. Oh, and asked what size she actually had a space for. And then if she did want to finish it, could she kind of fold it up and display different segments at different times, by having it folded and kind of hanging somewhere or laying on something. But there've been lots of other comments since then. But I'm curious if anyone today would like to weigh in on their suggestions with that.
Well, I had already commented in there that I thought that she should take that, the center section that's already constructed together and put a border on it. If it's an adequate size that she has someplace to use it in that size, and take the white blocks and the smaller black blocks on the outsides and any that she decides to continue working on, and creatively make a back. And that way it would be a fully reversible quilt.
I saw that, and that's a great idea. I'm always in awe of people that make reversible quilts, because I guess I think of it as putting so much effort into the front. Why would anybody then not want to look at the main part? But you're absolutely right. It would be reversible. And then whether it was folded or hung, it would be a fantastic display.
Wouldn't
Yeah.
90 by 90 be a nice queen size though?
She says that she doesn't have a bed or a wall that is that size.
Okay.
I did say that, like, potentially if she put a hanging sleeve on it, she could enter it into a show and see it hung up in all its glory. But I suppose that would just be a temporary thing, and then she's got the quilt for the rest of time. I mean, you can just see the work that has gone into this is absolutely amazing. All those
Yeah.
blocks.
It's gorgeous. Or even if she, was it Janet that you the one that said about leaving the new ones off?
Right.
You could make two smaller ones too for hanging. I make a light version and a dark version.
True. Yeah. Yeah, because she's used the green throughout. And so that would kind of tie them all together, I guess. Gosh, that
swap them
one on the center medallion, the top right, it's got all those sawtooth bits in it. I'm sure there's a name in the Barbara Brackman book for that block, but quite extraordinary, sort of sawtooth windmill type thing.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah. Well, there we go. So if anybody has any other ideas, certainly pop into the Facebook group and say your piece. And we've been joined by a few extra people. You don't have to introduce yourselves and talk about what you're working on, but if you would like to, then that would be great. We've got Kathy has joined us. Welcome. Do you want to talk about what you're working on, Kathy?
I'm working on a table runner for the fall.
Oh, beautiful, with the maple leaves. That's lovely.
My granddaughter helped pick out the colors,
Oh, nice.
and so I'm hoping to get it done this week while we're sewing.
Excellent. All right. Well, that's an excellent goal. And then we also joined
It's easy.
by Stephanie as well. And again, Stephanie, you don't have to say anything, but if you want to tell us what you're working on, then that would be lovely.
Sure, I'm working towards QuiltCon deadline on a diamond quilt.
Oh, wow. Is it this one behind you?
Yeah,
That's lovely, isn't it? And you're entering it into QuiltCon.
that's the hope.
Oh, wonderful. Wow. Oh, I see. Yes, that's the bottom right. What a great big design wall as well. How lovely have that to work on. Oh, wonderful. Yes, I went to QuiltCon for the first time this year. Because I'm not a modern quilter, but I was just kind of curious about it all. And I was also looking for speakers and teachers to take part in the Tour de Fabric that happened this summer. Yeah, quite a magnificent event. And I know some people it's kind of like what's the word? It's kind of like a holy grail each year to get there and make the trip and go. And I can't remember, where is it next year?
It's back to North Carolina, but it's also fun to be on the reject list.
I know QuiltCon Reject seems almost in a way to be a more popular hashtag and social media part of the whole thing than the quilts that actually get accepted. And I was certainly quite surprised at some of the quilts that got accepted last year. And the definition of modern is so interesting, the way it kind of develops over time and the different styles that are accepted and included now compared to certainly like the early years is fascinating. But yeah.
It does seem like a very broad definition because this is my first year going to QuiltCon too. We were in Arizona anyway. I'm like, well, I don't want to miss it since we're gonna be there. So that was my first time going. So that was great. It was fun.
Did you enter anything, Cindy?
No, my quilting is not. I'm not, precise enough. I don't think so.
No, me neither. And that's certainly something I'm worried about. If I didn't show what I'm working on. So this is, I won't try and hold the whole thing up, but this is an Amish inspired round robin. Which a group of friends had been making, and they asked me to put on the next border. So I guess this would count as modern because it's solids. Well, I don't know. Can an Amish quilt be modern? That seems quite bizarre, but I suppose it could be. And it's certainly quite a modern selection of colors. So yes, I dare say, but I won't be involved in the quilting aspect of it. In fact, free motion quilting is something that I do want to develop my skills in. But I don't tend to, I know with the modern quilts especially, it's often quite popular to do a lot of the kind of matchstick quilting.
I saw a lot of the QuiltCon, just a tiny, just really.
Yeah.
I was wondering if that's a kind of a trend, like that maybe that'll go away. I don't know.
Maybe.
I saw a lot of quilts with that too.
Yeah, certainly there seems to be a lot of geometric quilting in the modern movement with rulers and so on. I have a friend, Claudia Shearer, who is teaching a workshop actually for the San Francisco Guild in just 10 days from today, who is a fabulous modern quilter, and she's brilliant at the matchstick quilting. And I just don't know how she has the patience for it apart from anything else, and getting the lines to not look fabulously wonky. I'm sure there's a secret to it, and of course, once you master these things, you have the muscle memory as well. But it's definitely something
It's not as hard as you think. I did one on a long arm, and I did like one very straight line, maybe then 3 inches away another one, but then I free-handed the ones in between. It goes very fast.
Okay. Yes, I suppose it definitely advantageous to have a long arm.
And I think I love the idea of the quilting, but it's like a whole nother investment of learning. So then I just do simple lines because I've spent so much time making the top. I don't want to dwell on the quilting.
I think it's interesting. I was talking to someone once who had done a block of the month, and she'd done it like she was designing it and selling it as a product, and she'd done it 3 years running. And she was talking about how in the second year she had got the quilt, the kind of demonstration one, professionally quilted, and how she really wished that she'd done that for the first year as well. And I was kind of thinking about this. It's like, why does it make such a difference? But it really does. It kind of makes the fabric layout really pop if you've got that, what I would think of as like super complicated professional quilting, which is where people like Cindy come in with their fabulous long arms and their professional techniques and designs.
In my style of long arming, there was someone else already in Marshall that did a lot of the custom quilting and the very detailed, and so I remember her advice to me was pick a niche, pick your lane. And I decided to just go with the edge to edge designs. So I don't do the fancy quilting.
Okay.
I have a computerized machine, so it could do, flowers or race cars or whatever to, circles or whatever to fit the theme. But it's just an all over design over the whole thing. So probably like 95% of my quilting, 98, I don't know, is that just real easy.
Interesting.
I tried to do the freehand and I just started to sweat right away. So I just don't enjoy it. I don't know.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, especially if you're doing it for a living, you've got to enjoy it. Otherwise, it just becomes such a schlep.
Yeah.
That's fascinating because I'm always, I kind of one of those people who is probably never going to have a long arm because I won't have the space for it apart from anything else. But I'm always curious about how they work, and I have hired one in the past to use at a sewing studio, which unfortunately closed down, which is such a nuisance. When the wasn't even the pandemic, they survived the pandemic, and then the landlord decided to sell the building, and they weren't willing to go through all the fuss of relocating and finding a new place, which is understandable. But I'm always curious about what it would be like to have one. And the type of quilting I like to do is, I guess, it kind of inspired by, I don't know if you're all familiar with Joe Cunningham and his quilts, and he's local here in San Francisco, and I've met him multiple times, lovely man. But he does a lot of quilting which is more, what's the word I'm going for? It's more like storytelling with the quilting. It's almost like it would stand up on its own without the quilt, if you see what I mean. So it's very illustrative and image based and drawing based. And so that's my style of quilting. And what I'm always wondering is whether I could design, like draw that in, I don't know, Procreate or something, and get it digitized into the right format file. And then could I get a long arm machine to just then long arm the design?
Yeah, he does it that way. I've seen a talk about it. I've never tried it, but
really?
You have to simplify the drawing to just lines, and it has to be one continuous line.
Right.
And then the computer can take it over and stitch it.
Because I did see just randomly a woman had created a long arm digital design for a whole cloth baby quilt. And so I was thinking, if you can have a design that's that big, then, although I wasn't sure if it was like 4 blocks that were mirrored, but you can have a whole quilt size design. I suppose it depends on the size of the quilt, but I guess I'm thinking Joe always does 6 foot by 6 foot. And I go smaller than that generally. But if you could have a design that was the size of the entire quilt, that would be fascinating.
The one I think I saw, the article was about a skyline. Like you took a city skyline and just got the silhouette and then that stitched out.
Well, Judy Niemeyer's quilts, the really fancy paper pieced, detailed. I see where you can buy digitized patterns for that, but what they do is they'll do one section, like they'll have one shape for this triangle, and then have one shape, you know, different quilting. So each shape has its own quilting, so that you can do a section at a time, because with your long arm, you're just doing one row at a time.
Yeah.
So that's
Oh, makes
get into
sense.
smaller sections.
I suppose then I just need to find a long arm that is the right sort to take that. And then I suppose they would charge by the inch or by the stitch or something.
Usually it's by the inch. Most of-
Yeah. Because I know I've only had a quilt kind of like professionally long-armed once, and it was a pantograph kind of thing, just an edge-to-edge design. And that was by the inch. And I mean, it seemed expensive at the time, but then when you think about how many hours work it saved me, it was probably about $10 an hour or something. So it wasn't that bad.
It varies widely too in what you do. So for my long arm, I mean, because it's edge to edge, for a queen size, it's about $130. So it's widely different than if you had that custom quilting that might be, you know, $600 or more.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because that's about what it was when I got this quilt done. But I know like there's some expert quilters near me, like gosh, how can I have forgotten her last name? Sue. Oh, it'll come to me anyway, but she's actually taking a year off at the moment from custom quilting, but she's just often wins the ribbons. It's the quilts that she's quilted or made, in fact, that often win the ribbons at the San Francisco show.
Nice.
Right. So I've decided on the design, and I got as far as working out what I needed to cut out of the black fabric, which has not arrived, which is very annoying, but there we go. Time will, I'm sure, provide, or I should have popped to the local store, but I don't have a car, so it involves a little bit of shenanigans to get over there. But anyway, but I haven't worked out how many of these little 2.5 inch squares I need to cut. So I should do that before I go any further. I've just been trimming up some scraps that were left in the bag from the previous people.
And then you're just gonna put a 2.5 inch square in between them and then add your 2 border strips.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, everything goes at 2.5. Because I am not a precise quilter, I'm making the black strips slightly wider than they need to be, and I can trim them to size because otherwise I wouldn't want to rely too much on the precision of my piecing. Nine, so it's 2 inches.
I like how you say you're not a precise quilter. It's a nice way to say it, because if I say I'm not a perfectionist, it almost seems like kind of dissing perfectionist, but on the other hand, it feels like you're saying you're kind of dissing yourself, like you should be you know, a lot of quilters think they should be perfectionist, but I like that. I'm an imprecise quilter. That's me.
I definitely am. Like my seams rarely match. I'm always forgetting which way to iron them as well. And my points are either floating or blunted.
Yeah.
So yes, I do my best.
Yeah, same.
And I dare say, you know, it's one of those things where if you put the time into it, I'm sure I would be technically a much better quilter. But that's just not what's important to me. Is the overall design and feel of the quilt that's important to me, not whether it's perfectly aligned. I think I fall much more on the kind of art side of things than on the technical side of things. Although I realize they're not exclusive.
Well, I stare at the poster. That's not a poster, it's a sign,
Mm,
wooden sign that somebody gave me that's finished is better than perfect.
Yeah.
exactly.
That's my motto.
Yeah.
Uh,
And just, do you like it? Are you happy with it? You know,
Right.
even although, because I trained as a quilt judge earlier this year,
oh,
and
wow.
it's meant that I now critique my stuff as I go along rather than waiting for the show. And the judges' comments there. But yeah, so it's definitely become much more of a choice whether to do something like to a judge's standard or to try and approach the judge's standard versus just getting it done. It's close enough. I sometimes think I should describe myself as the close enough quilter. Right, 52, 26, 13. Mm, 26, 56, 60. Right. Okay, I have my calculations done now. I can just get down to the cutting.
I have a hard time doing calculations while I'm visiting. If I'm going to retreat, I try, if I can, the pre-cut ahead of time, just so I can
Mhm.
not have to focus so much.
I know I hadn't been to a quilting retreat for, well, since before the pandemic, before the one I went to in, was it in August? I've forgotten now, but anyway, fairly recently. And it was so lovely to be there and just have the dedicated time. And I realized that I'd fallen into the trap of, when you start making a career out of doing what you love, it's all too easy, or what I fell into was always making things as samples or as kind of like illustrations of a technique, or to teach a class about, or something like that. And I'd just stopped making for myself and for the joy of it, which was such a mistake, and really took the joy out of everything.
I find that's definitely where I'm at. The only quilting I do, I call it for fun, is at retreats. Church used to have one every year, and then people were saying, well, it's not enough. And it wasn't just a quilting retreat, it was just a bring whatever you want to work on. So some did scrapbooking and some just brought a book, or it was just like we call it R&R, relaxing.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
To bring whatever you want to work on, but probably about 60% of the ladies brought sewing machines. So it's a lot of quilting. But they said that, one a year wasn't enough. So we started having what we call the mini retreats at our church. We just pull out a bunch of tables, and usually we'll do like 3 or 4 extra of those where it's just a Friday, Saturday, and you come in. It's mostly that's almost all quilters. We just come and sew and talk and for 2 days. And that's where I get almost all my non-business stuff done.
Lovely. Yes, I can understand. The San Francisco Guild has one retreat a year, but they alternate what they do each year. So this year was the bring your own stuff to work on retreat, and next year is the one that will have teachers and classes and so on. And we've got this amazing location we go to. We're lucky because our retreat organizer used to work there. and it's a Jewish summer camp location, or well, a Jewish camp location, I guess. Doesn't have to be the summer. And there was this amazing story because, of course, we have fires in the more forested areas of California fairly regularly, and this Camp Newman, I think it's called, and the whole thing burnt down. It had just been renovated, and it's surrounded by forest and was surrounded by beautiful redwoods and so on. And a fire swept through, and Christine had to negotiate with the police who had closed all the roads. She drove in against their advice and saved the Torah, which was on site, and was able to drive out with it. So now she's apparently a local hero for having saved the Torah. And she doesn't work there anymore, but she knows all the people and all the facilities and so on. And so I don't know if it's an issue that we're not a Jewish group, because I think that's the main focus of the site. But yes, now we can use this place as our retreat location, and it's just beautiful. You know, a lot of the trees did burn down, but there's a lot of greenery has grown back. There's a huge redwood that survived the fire, which stands right in the middle of the location. And it's got gorgeous rooms, big high ceilings, huge wall-to-wall windows. It's just really lovely, and surrounded by all sorts of walks and trails and things. So yeah, very lucky. The other guild I belong to, the East Bay Heritage Quilters, who are more in the East Bay side of the Bay. I don't think they have retreats, but they do have. There's a trip to Japan coming up, which one of the members is leading. Which would be fascinating. Well, it will be fascinating. I took a look at the agenda, and I kind of wished that I'd seen the agenda when I was living there, because there were lots of things mentioned which I hadn't known about at the time and would have loved to do. But of course, those kind of trips are a bit of an investment.
I bet. Yeah.
So yeah, it's certainly not within my means currently to go and do that. But I have saved the itinerary, and so if I go back at any point, I can tick some of these things off and go and visit.
When did you live in Japan?
It was for 14 months between 2013 and then the beginning of 2000. No, was it the end of yeah, so basically it was the middle of 2013 to the end of 2014. I was trying to remember whether we were there for the Christmas of 2014, but I don't think we were. Yeah, so that was a fair while ago, and then moved to America at the beginning of 2015. Oh gosh, lots of little bits. Wonderful.
What did you like most about living there?
Ooh. That's a really interesting question. The first thing that comes to mind is that certainly my experience of it was that it was very peaceful. And it, you know, there's obviously a huge number of people, and the population density in the city is as high as in any other city. But because of the kind of culture of the country is very much like, well, I always joke, my personal motto is don't be a dick. And that felt like the kind of culture there was like that. It was very respectful, and you don't make a lot of noise because that wouldn't be respectful, and you kind of, things are very tidy because to drop litter and stuff would be to the detriment of the overall feel and of the place. And yeah, so it's I realize there's like historical reasons why, and sometimes it's not terribly healthy to live like that and not feel free to express. And young people have different ideas and so on. God, young people, what am I sounding like? But yeah, and then of course it's such a different culture, and the emphasis on beauty, I suppose, and kind of small beauty is fascinating. And because I couldn't work when I was living there because I didn't have a visa, I spent a lot of time visiting gardens and museums and sewing shops, fabric shops. It's just the other thing that really strikes you if you can live there like for a year is how seasonal everything is. Because they of course have seasons like weather, like everywhere does. But I was used to the UK where it's known for raining quite a lot, and it definitely has 4 distinct seasons. I always think that my part of California barely has 3 seasons. We don't do winter. And autumn and spring are kind of barely indistinguishable. So but there you go. And but in Japan, it wasn't just the weather that changed, because it's a relatively small island. Like all the animals would change, the birds and so on, and even the insects, because they have cicadas and stuff out there. So that the sounds would very much change, and the food changed a lot in the supermarket, which you wouldn't notice if you were just passing through. But they try not to import too much food because it's so much more expensive, of course. And so you would have very seasonal produce in the supermarket, which was fascinating. And it also meant that I was continuously having to learn, what is that and how do I cook it?
That'd be really hard.
Yeah.
B, I don't know if you saw, but Genevieve is put a note in the chat that she's going on a cruise around Japan in April, and she wondered if your list had any quilt museums on it.
Oh, I'll have to have a look. There are certainly like gorgeous museums in Tokyo, and I was lucky to be there at a time where there was some just astonishing exhibitions. But I feel, I'm a huge art lover. I don't remember any quilt museums specifically. There was the Tokyo Quilt Show was still going then. I understand it might have stopped in recent years and not be going. But the one I went to, what was it called? The other one I went to, there's a, is it, can't be Kawasaki, can it? Anyway, I'll have to look at Genevieve and message you. Let me write down to remember this. Because yeah, there were just some fabulous places. But I don't remember an actual quilt museum, because it does tend to be a bit like it is over here. There's not that many quilt museums, in the place, but there was a beautiful craft museum in Tokyo, which was absolutely fabulous. And then, of course, if you are visiting Tokyo, which I'm sure you must be, then you want to get yourself to Nippori, which is the fabric town parts. And certainly there was a shop there which doesn't sound at all Japanese, called Tomato. just tomato. And that was the fabric store that I went to most often. And on the ground floor, they had 100 yen fabric. So it's basically like $1 for a yard. And that was what I made all our curtains and things out of. And then as you go up the building, each floor specializes in a different thing. And there would be kind of a notions floor and a kind of traditional Japanese quilting fabric floor, and then more of a upholstery and clothing floors as well. It was absolutely wonderful, and surrounded by so many other fabric shops as well. So I will dig that out. Actually, I had some blog posts back then about craft places to visit, but of course this is 10 years ago, so I don't know. It would probably require some Googling to check whether they were still there. I remember there was one amazing location I found which made traditional washi paper, and then also sold a number of cartonnage kits for box making and so on. And you would buy the kit and then buy the paper, by these huge sheets to use with the project. Absolutely beautiful. In fact, oh no, that's right. I had a kind of big sewing box, but I'm about to move. And it was quite large, and I just hadn't been using it. I'd had it on display. And so I recently passed it on to a friend. But yeah, but highly practical things. It does seem surreal now, having lived there. So a whole lifetime ago.
How long were you there?
14 months. So it was long enough to kind of see the cycle start over again. Because I think it was October. That's right. It was October 2013 when we went out there, and then it was just before Christmas when we came back in 2014. Yes. Making some progress. I guess it would go faster if I wasn't using all the scraps of fabric that were left over from what other people had made on the previous borders. But if I was just cutting great big long strips, but then I think it is a kind of scrappy quilt at the moment. So I think I should stick with, and certainly it's very much my preference to use up small pieces. I feel like I make a lot more scrappy quilts than I would logically generate scraps to make. I am a consumer of other people's scraps as well as my own.
For this round robin, did they provide all the fabric, or does each people add to it and then they just include some leftovers for the next person?
Exactly. So there was initially some fabric, and then each subsequent person has kind of added a few bits here and there. And I've certainly got more than enough colorful fabric to do all the blocks, like tons more than I would need. But I don't have the black. And so that's why I'm waiting for that to arrive.
It can be hard to match black.
I know. I did wonder whether I was going to have an issue with it, but I really should have gone to the store. I thought I was being sensible buying it online, but you're right, it can be a job. We'll see.
Because you think white is white and black is black. Until I was trying to match a black one time, I'm like, oh, really? I hadn't known that until I was trying to match.
Yeah.
Oh, dang. But there's probably different blacks in there already, so maybe it
Yes.
doesn't matter then.
Yeah, I just looking at it actually, it does look, because some of the original blocks in the center that had the tiny signatures on them, here we go, the ones on the turquoise, those, some of these have got different blacks in them, or possibly it's just because they've aged. And certainly the other black is, well, you probably can't see it, but it's blacker than the black in the center.
That makes it nice. That doesn't
Mm.
matter. Our guild did a round robin where we each started, we made a 12.5-inch block in the for the center. And
Mhm.
you know, it could be the colors you wanted or the theme you wanted or whatever. You just made your 12-inch block and everyone was built off of that. So I just picked out a bunch of kind of jewel tones that I liked and just a real simple center. And it was fun. It was like, I felt like a lot of pressure because you're like, you really want it to be nice for the next person, but it was fun. But it was probably 20 years ago. So I was a newer quilter. So maybe that's why I felt more stressed. Now I probably wouldn't worry about it as much. But the time,
Right. And I organized a round robin pre-pandemic for our guild because I'd seen all these ones online of people who did exactly that. And so we started in exactly that way. You had I can't remember whether it was 12 inches or whatever size it was in the middle, and then people built on around it. And I had done a paper pieced cat's face, very scrappy and kind of wild colors and so on, and asked that the rest of the quilt be cat themed, but didn't specify with colors or anything. And I got the most amazing quilt back at the end. It really was a dramatic reveal to see what
Yeah.
everyone had done.
I should bring that up again for our guild because it was so long ago that we did it. It'd be fun to do that one again.
Well, I was delighted. Someone else really liked it. I'd just done it for the 1 year, and wasn't planning to continue it, but someone else really liked it. In fact, the women that have been involved with this round robin, actually, with the group that kind of took it over, Mary in particular, and so they ran with it. And then during the pandemic, Julia, God, I'm just forgetting everybody's last name. Julia McLeod. Yes, that sounds right. Who's an expert with silk and does a lot there. She came up with this idea of a lone robin, where, because we couldn't really swap blocks very easily, you created your own center using a prompt, and then you added on a border using another prompt, and so on and so on. And you the idea was that you added a border using the prompt like every month or two. And it was a great idea. It was really popular. Can't remember if that was still going, but there's definitely a round robin that was happening until very recently. And I think it was being discussed at the retreat to have the next one.
I'm in a B, and for my round, I haven't done it. I kind of slacked off because I got caught up with the QuiltCon deadline. But I made this block, which I saw in a.
Oh, beautiful.
I saw these beautiful, like, handmade tiny ones that was in a Japanese quilt that was on show. But my idea for my B was I would verbally describe this block to the one person and give them light, medium, dark, maybe give them a packet of fabric and then see what they made. Then they would have to describe it to the next person. So it'd be like a game of telephone.
Yeah.
And I'd get all the blocks back at the end and could make, put them in order or see what happens to it.
Oh, how fun.
And if did you say you haven't had your round yet?
Well, my round I was supposed to give it out last month and I just been too busy. So
Right.
I might offer to pass or, do it the next time.
That's such an interesting idea.
But yeah, I'm kind of curious and see if people would go for it or not. But just thinking about how to describe it,
Yeah, because it looks like a variation on one of those cross plus.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say the Celebrity Center, you have to use the feature fabrics I give, and you can do anything in the square in the center. But then It's all half square triangles. But in the real one that I saw, they used directional prints and mitered them around the
Mhm.
corners.
Oh my goodness.
So that
Wow.
would be like a bonus if someone achieved. But yeah, I like the block too. It's complicated enough to describe that it could,
Mhm.
and I would say if you want to change anything, you can change it on purpose. But
Sure.
curious to see what would happen to them.
Lovely.
But that could be an online thing too. You just
Mm.
describe a block and then come back in a week and see what people made.
Now we're coming up to our last 10 minutes this morning. How are people doing? Are you making progress? Janet's
I've-
making progress. Excellent.
I finished one.
Definitely. I'm
I
only
am.
pinning and cutting though.
Hello, Maria, as well. You've joined us. Hello. Would you like to say hello, or I mean, I don't want to pressure you at all.
Hi, I'm from near Dayton, Ohio.
Hello.
And sorry, my earbuds, I don't know if you guys can hear me.
Yes, we can. Yes.
I'm working on a coffee quilt.
Oh, wow.
Oh, nice.
And it's
And,
double-sided? Or is that a printed back?
It's all embroidered and
Wow.
appliqued on.
Isn't that beautiful?
All of those are separate embroideries and appliqued on. Two questions that I have, I'm trying to figure out. One, I've got the binding. I can miter the corners on the back, but I can never miter the corners on the front when I'm finishing the binding. Any suggestions? My corners look like this. They're beautifully mitered on the back, absolutely gorgeously mitered on the back. But
Let
when
me
it comes to the
spotlight
front,
you. Hang on. Let me spotlight you, and
Okay.
we will, if you can show us again. There we go. Show it. Give us another look.
they're beautifully mitered on the back, all four of them.
Uh-huh.
But when I turn it over, I don't know how to miter it nicely on the front. It just doesn't.
So it's all in how you sew the bindings on. If we're doing a continuous binding, it's the way you fold it on the corners that gives you that nice mitered corner. I teach a binding class, and I'm teaching another class on Saturday on how to do the bindings. I can get some scrap fabric here and try and show you, or if you're gonna be back tomorrow, I can do a better demo.
That's what it looks like on the back. I don't know if that helps. It's done to a 1/4 inch and then.
But you're like
cross.
joining two pieces at the same time as you're finishing the corner. Like that's way too
Right.
complicated.
That is
Right.
You make a big piece and you put the connections somewhere in the middle so that around the corner it is just a solid. Then you're
Yeah.
just folding.
Okay.
Cindy, would you mind grabbing a piece of fabric and that us a quick demo? Sorry to put you on the spot,
Nope, I can do
but
that.
if you're willing, because I used to have terrible trouble with my binding and my corners, and would always round them, and they'd look like.
I'm trying to finish a binding, but
Yeah, the group that I have a group that I actually go and quilt with, and they all told me, don't do miters, quit miters.
Yes.
no, but
Well-
it's not hard. See, you just sew it continuously, and there's
Oh, here we
kind
go.
of a trick about folding it. But then when you finish,
Can you
it
show
just,
again when she spotlighted you? There you go.
Yes, definitely.
the front and the
That-
back end up mitered.
Mm.
But I
Right.
didn't have to work hard at that. It's
But they're not,
Yeah.
it's not mitered as in sewing on the diagonal. It just looks mitered.
yeah, there's
Okay.
when you sew the continuous strip, see it's just one piece.
Okay,
You go all the way to one end, you stop at a 1/4 inch. And then you kind of lift it, fold it. There's videos online that you can watch. So that
Right.
you kind of get it
Yeah.
folded and then you just flipping it over and tacking it down, and you get a
I think
miter.
Cindy is about to give us
Yeah,
a
I'm not sure if I
live
the camera
demonstration.
here, but so when you have the raw edge of the binding on one side here, and boy, it's hard to do it with this camera. So you're lining up the raw edges and you're sewing along it. When you get to the corner, what you're gonna do, I'm not sure how to best lay it out here. You would flip it up
Right.
so that it kind of would
Instead of
make a
45.
straight line with this edge. Your binding would make a straight line, and then you'd fold it back down again,
Mm-hmm.
and then you'd continue sewing down that edge. So that when you
Okay.
open it, that gives you a mitered corner on both the front and the back. So you're gonna
Okay.
flip it up and hold it, and then you're gonna flip it
Mhm.
back down. So it makes a 45-degree angle right there.
All right.
You can see that. So what you're gonna do is when you sew, and you're gonna stop sewing, stop with your needle 1/4 inch from the edge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, lift up your needle, slide this out just a little bit from under your presser foot, and then you do your
Mhm.
flipping up and down, and then you're gonna start sewing 1/4 inch just right on the edge here, a 1/4 inch, and start sewing down again, if that makes sense.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
that's exactly perfect. Perfecto.
that's
Cindy,
clear,
thank
yeah.
you for that.
I was initially caught to do it with 2 separate pieces meeting at the corner, and then
Way too hard.
one of the old quilting books that I was given.
Yeah, I
Which-
did a
which is
hand
just-
quilting class with a G's Bend person, and that's how they did it. And it was, oh my God,
Yeah.
it was horrible.
Yeah, you see where I'm stuck
This
on
is
this
so
right
much
now.
easier. You just flip it over and it's mitered.
Yeah, I understand what you're talking about. The mitered word is being used in 2 slightly different ways.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, so if you're gonna hand sew it to finish off that bottom edge, you'd wanna sew your binding to the top and roll it to the back, and then do your
Okay.
hand stitching. If you're gonna stitch it by machine, usually you'd sew it on the back side, roll it to the front, and then you can do like a top stitch along that top edge. So it just depends on
Which
how
is
you're finishing it.
right. Which is what I'm trying to do with this one, to finish it up.
Sure, yeah.
And
I
then the
think
other,
there's so
Go
many
ahead.
different ways to do bindings. Like when I teach my class, we make 4 little projects with 4 different ways to bind it, because I guess I'm not a fan of when people say this is the right way to do it. I feel like there's a lot of different
Right.
ways to do it, a lot of good ways to do it. So I teach them
Right.
different ways. You can choose what way works best for you.
What are the
That's wonderful.
4 ways? I'm curious.
So the ones, this is for beginner quilters, so people that don't know binding.
Mm.
So first one we just make little like mug rug things.
Okay, go ahead and take your car.
First one is just called the birthing method, you know, where you put the right sides together, sew around it and leave an opening
Right.
and turn the right side out. And then you
Mhm.
sew it again around 1/4 inch around the edge to finish it off. So that's the very easiest way. And then you'd have to tie it if you're making a bigger quilt.
Mhm.
Another way is the rolling the back to the front. And
Mhm.
if you use a minky, you can just do a single roll to the front and top stitch it. Or if you're using a cotton, you'd have to fold it once and then fold it again, so you don't have that
Mhm.
raw edge showing. The third one is sewing on the front and roll it to the back
Horseshoe.
for the hand sewing, and then have them sew on the back, roll it to the front, and do the machine stitching along the top. And then I had some ladies in this one that wanted to learn how to join, like do the machine joining it instead of just
Mhm.
taking the raw edge on the tail under. They want to learn how to do that. So this class I'll be talking about that too, is how to do the math and how to flip it and everything, so you can sew that mitered corner for that last seam before you finish it off. And
Wonderful. And
do you have room in your class, Cindy?
oh, I'm afraid it's an in-person class in Marshall, Minnesota, my local quilt shop. So online classes, I teach online just my quilt patterns. They're all fusible applique.
Okay.
A bunch of classes coming up in November and December for that, but the learn to sew classes are just in-person ones, I'm afraid.
I
And
thought
do
I'd
you-
give it an ask anyway.
Yeah, sure.
And you said that these ones were for beginner quilters. Do you do another class in finishing for like more experienced quilters?
I haven't yet, but the only more advanced technique, I guess, that I've done that I have experience with is the flange binding, where you
Right.
add two different, and I really like using that on my own quilts. I really like that for more, you know, a little fancier edge, but I know there's also ways to add, you know, prairie points in there before
Oh,
you
yeah.
go down, and different ways to do it. And I haven't done a prairie point one myself. So at some point, maybe I would like to do a class like that, but I'd want to practice it myself.
Of course. Of
Comfortable
course.
with it.
I know I was jokingly asking a group of quilt teachers, like, how well do you need to know a technique before, oh, whoops, my alarm's going on, before you decide to start teaching it to other people. And there were lots of jokings about how you only need to be 1 page ahead of the rest of the class and you're good. But things like that, especially when you never know how experienced the people in the class are going to be.
Exactly.
You don't want to be corrected as you're going along.
I taught classes like how to make a beginner quilt. Again, it's like I'll teach them the beginning class where how to use a rotary cutter, how to sew, and then the advanced beginner class is how to make a very simple projects. And for some of those, I've just showed up. I haven't made it before. I haven't even looked at the pattern sometimes. You know, I try to get the day before just so I can see the steps. So I'm like, okay, make sure I understand how this person has the pattern, their instructions written, because they can be different. But those I don't need as much, you know, I don't need to have done it myself to understand a beginner pattern, but if I'm teaching a technique, I want to be comfortable
Absolutely,
with it.
yeah.
Sure, sure.
Well, we are on the hour. So I am going to end this session, but we do, if you want to come back, we do have another one in about 3 hours, I think it is. I need to check. But all the details are in today's email. And it would be lovely to see some of you back at that session. All right. Thank you so much for joining me this morning, and good luck with the rest of your projects. All right. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks for all the help.